Hey guys, what's up? It's Spartacus here, back for another arena guide for Hearthstone. Today, we're going to be doing Paladin, which is the class I am the most successful with in arena, especially since GVG came out. Some of the cards are just absolutely amazing, and we have one of them already here in the first pick. So Paladin basically is so good because it has a lot of very good early game cards, a lot of good cards for trading, and a lot of premium removal like True Silver Champion, Hammer of Wrath, um, Consecration. So those are basically what we're looking for. Those they call them the 4/4, the big 4/4 drops. So Hammer of Wrath, Consecration, True Silver, and Blessing of Kings. And then also they have, in my opinion, maybe the best two drop in the game. It's debatable, but I think Shield and Mini Bot is at least one of the best two drops in the game. So you can take the board early with Paladin and you can keep it. And also, if you do get, for example, epics, their epics are very powerful. There's just a lot of powerful cards around Paladin in Arena, so you tend to do quite well. So here we are, the first pick, and this is an easy one. Equality is actually a very good card. It's definitely worth considering, and we're taking Wailing Soul is not a very good card in most situations, but Muster for Battle is just so good. The board presence it gives you with 3/1/1s early on can be huge. They can be buffed in certain ways, and that really works out. And not only that, but the 4/1 weapon actually in Arena has a fair amount of value. It can do a lot. So we're going to take Muster for Battle. Okay. Another good pick here. Haunted Creeper is an excellent 2-drop. Jungle Panther is a decent 3-drop. It can be pretty good for. It's kind of like removal because it sits there and you can choose how to attack with it. But in Paladin especially, Direwolf Alpha is fantastic, especially since we already have Muster for Battle. So already have synergy with that, and Direwolf Alpha plus being able to hit the button and create a 1/1 token, or Dude, is as it's called, it's just a great card in Paladin. So Direwolf Alpha it is. Okay, Win for Your Harpy is a very bad arena card. Just the stats are not worth the cost. Fairy Dragon is a solid 2-drop, but Avenge is probably the best Paladin secret. It's either that or Noble Sacrifice. I think Avenge is better. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do, but Avenge can give you a lot of tempo, especially already with Muster for Battle. We have a kind of a token theme going on in the first 3 picks, which is interesting that there's already synergy, even though I don't really care about it usually in the first 10 picks. But Avenge is what we're going to take. Okay, another good pick. Uh, Bloodfang Raptor is it's all right, vanilla 2-drop. Eye for an Eye is probably the worst secret in the game, and should probably never be picked. It's just awful. And Silverhand Knight is a value card, great value 5-drop, 6 stats, 6/6 in stats for 5 mana. Okay, another great pick. River Crocodile is vanilla, Core Hound is terrible, and Spider Tank is arguably it's one of the best neutral 3-drops in the game, if not the best. Okay, so here we have a few mediocre picks. War Golem's pretty mediocre. The stats aren't that great for the cost. It's just vanilla. The Blessing of Might can be good if you're going to be really aggressive, but you also it's sometimes you just throw away this card. Sometimes it kind of acts as just like half a card to trade to a card because you already have like a 1 card down in form of a minion, and then you use this card to use that your minion to trade with a bigger one. So sometimes it just kind of isn't worth enough value, and if you don't have a lot of draw with a lot of low drops, you get punished. I don't really like Blessing of Might that much, is basically what I'm trying to say there. And then Guardian of Kings is an acceptable card. A lot of times restoring 6 health can really get you out of a lot of jams. It's never a bad idea to have a little bit of healing in a deck. So I'm going to take Guardian of Kings over the War Golem here. Okay, great pick here. Unstable Ghoul is really bad in Paladin because of all the 1/1s. Stone Tusk Boar is just in general a poor card. Consecration is a great card, and the Paladin's form of AoE. Another great pick here. Cogmaster, you need a lot of mechs, and we're not ready to be looking at synergies, or it's too early. Holy Light is usually rather useless. And the card that is not is Archer Protector. Archer Protector is insanely good in a lot of situations. You can put it on a minion that's already on the board and use it to get like a free trade and the 2/2. Early on, it's powerful. Late in the game, it's powerful. It's powerful as long as you have a minion on the board that is ready to attack. It's just a great card. So, Argent Protector. Okay, so we have one weapon so far in the form of a Light's Justice. So Bloodsail Raider already, I think, has a little bit more value than Bloodthorn Raptor. So the question is, which one do we take, the Blessing of Wisdom or the Bloodsail Raider? Blessing of Wisdom, you can treat it like a cycle card, like 1 mana cycle, but sometimes it can get more value than that. So sometimes it can be like an Acolyte in the. I guess I value it kind of like an Acolyte. Like it'll get you 1 draw at least, and for the most part, and then sometimes it'll get you multiple. I don't have any draw so far, but it's pretty early. Bloodsail Raider can get more value if we do draw more weapons. And I think it's too early to care about draw, so I'm going to take the Raider. Okay, not a great pick here. So far we have 3 spells out of our 9, so that's not a bad ratio for the Gnomish Experimenter here. Gnomish Experimenter isn't that bad of a card. Abomination is interesting. It can be powerful, kind of like a delay consecration, but it's to the whole board, and that's what I don't like because this is Paladin, and we're going to have a lot of tokens built up, so I don't think I'm going to take the Abomination. Light Warden, we only have 1 heal, and usually just very underwhelming card, so Gnomish Experimenter it is. Okay, so a lot of healing in this pick. Holy Light, again, just doesn't do enough. It's between the Anti-Keelbot and the Silver Moon Guardian. Silver Moon Guardian is an acceptable 4-drop. It is worse against classes that can ping off the shield, but it can do some damage, especially if you can buff it. Right now we only have 1 buff card in Direwolf Alpha. Anti-Keelbot can save you in a lot of situations. And I actually consider Anti-Keelbot a very powerful arena card because you at least get like some sort of body, and that restoring 8 health can be very good. The thing is, we already have Guardian of Kings, but 2 heals I think is fine. We don't want any more because you lose value on the actual bodies when the heal is attached to it. So we'll take the Anti-Keelbot because I do value the card in general more than Guardian, and this is the 11th pick. So, but from now on, no more heals. Okay, this pick is between the Tidehunter and the Engineer. Hand of Protection just doesn't do enough. Sometimes it can be good, but usually it doesn't get quite the value of 1 card. It's kind of like half a card of value. So Tidehunter can be good, I guess. We have technically cards we are going to drop on turn 2 are only Bloodsail Raider. You don't want to drop the Direwolf Alpha and the Argent Protector that early, like by themselves. So that's not bad. Novice Engineer just cycles itself, so I think we'll go with the Murloc Tidehunter. And I don't know, I don't think it's that bad. It's bad against mages, but it does give you some initiative against mages because they have to ping off the 2/1. So okay, another Holy Light. They really want us to have the Holy Lights, but we're not going to take it. Frostwolf Warlord is a great, great card in Paladin because of you tend to have a board. You can always at least token and play it in a lot of situations, like on turn 7, and get 5 mana 5/5, which is vanilla value. But a lot of time it can be a 6/6, a 7/7, because Paladins tend to have so many things on the board. Mad Scientist also isn't bad, especially since because we already have 1 secret. But Paladin secrets don't cost as much. Like if this was Mage, I would take the Mad Scientist. But because Paladin, Frostwolf Warlord is worth more, Mad Scientist is worth less. So we're going to go with the Warlord. Oh, hoo, hoo. Well, we have the card that really makes Paladin go, the True Silver Champion. This is, in my opinion, the best card in Paladin, at least the best uncommon card. I'm sure there are some epics that I'm not thinking about right now, but the True Silver Champion is really the staple of the Paladin arena. Usually you see decks that go really far with this card because it usually 2-for-1s. It's just great on turn 4. It's a fantastic card. You keep it in your opening hand for the most part, and also the other two it's up against are very mediocre. So choose over champion. We also need things to play on 4 right now. Okay, so these are all lackluster. Repentance, I think, is a rather poor card. The thing about Repentance that's interesting in Arena, and I think why its value is a little higher than people might think, is because no one plays around it. No, like sometimes people just play like an ogre, and a 6/7 will just be a 6/1, and you get a lot of value in that because you can just kill it with a dude. But I still think it's a rather poor card. In a lot of situations, it doesn't get much value at all. So Elven Archer, I also think, is fairly poor. Doesn't really do that much. Clockwork Gnome, at least you get the spare part. It is something to play on turn 1 that they have to ping off. You know, it can get some value. It is a mech, so if I do have mech synergies down the line, it's alright. I'm okay with Clockwork Gnome. Not great, though. Okay, this is a fairly easy pick. Right now we have 1, 2, 3 early game cards. It's halfway through. We'd like to have about 6 or 7. But there's also other cards that kind of we can play in the early game, so I'm not going to worry about the Bloodseal Raider as much. Anti-Killbot, I said we don't want any more healing, and Sentient is a very solid 4-drop, so we'll take the Sentient. Oh, wow. This is a tough one. This is a legitimately very tough pick. Frostwolf Grunt is awful, so that's not the one we're considering, but Zombie Chow and Shielded Minibot are, in my opinion, 2 of the best early game arena cards. Zombie Chow on turn 1, there's none like it. It is so annoying to deal with. It always trades up to, 2-drop and at least gets a 2-drop. Sometimes it gets more. It's a very powerful presence in the early game. Shield and Minibot is the same thing. It sometimes can 2-for-1. It really puts a threat on the board. It gives you a lot of tempo. Ooh, this is really difficult. So we already have 1-drop. The thing about Zombie Chow is it is bad in the late game, and Shielded Minibot isn't necessarily. I've never actually had to think about if I had to choose between these two in a vacuum, which would be better. They're both excellent. I'm going to go with the Shielded Minibot. I think it's just, if I have the coin, then, you can get that out anyway. I look at it like that. Also, it really gives you a lot of tempo because classes are forced to either play 2 3s and do it if they have them, or play nothing, just hero power it. Which if all they do is just hero power it away, then or the shield away, then you have tempo, and then I can just give an Archer Protector on it and give it another shield or something like that. It's a very, very good card, so I'm going to take the Shielded Minibot. Okay, easy pick here. Dancing Swords is alright early game, but it's awful late game. Shield Bearer's bad all around for the most part, and Ooze is a good card. Vanilla 2-drop with a very big upside. Okay, Hammer of Wrath is the pick here because these 2 cards are terrible. Hammer of Wrath is, we also don't have any draw so far, and our curve is looking a little bit low. It's looking pretty good, but it's also, we need some draw. It's always good to have some draw, so Hammer of Wrath is that. So we're going to take the Hammer of Wrath. Oh, this is a pretty easy pick again. Another Muster for Battle. Muster for Battle is just fantastic, especially when played on turn 3. You just get so much value out of it. Although it is up against Emperor Cobra, which is like fairly good. It's like if you drop it on turn 3, it's vanilla. If you put it down late game against a big creature, it could do some work. But I don't value it higher than Muster for Battle. Sludge Belcher is also a good card, but right now, I mean, I think we're going to be dominating the board a lot in the early game, and we have some comeback cards. It's kind of what Sludge Belcher is kind of like a delay card. It just kind of gets in the way. I mean, I'm not that concerned about it right now. Muster for Battle is just so good. Okay, so I'm not high in Annoyatron in Arena. In the previous video, I've discussed why. I think sometimes it just doesn't even trade for 2-drops, and so I don't really value it that highly unless I have a lot of mech synergy. The Fairy Dragon is a solid 2-drop. It's a good card. And the Noble Sacrifice is actually a fairly good secret. It can trade into 2 drops early, so 1 mana to trade into a 2 drop. And sometimes it just gets in the way of your opponent's plans. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 early game drops. Couple good 3s. This is looking really strong in general. I'll probably have to pick a few more 2 drops. I think I'm going to take the Noble Sacrifice. Okay, this is a very easy pick. Nomergon Infantry is bad. So is Tauren Warrior. Stormpike Commando can sometimes it's nice to have that 2 damage removal a lot of the time, especially in a class that can't deal 1 damage. So sometimes you need to take out something with 1 health, and Stormpike Commando can do that. So we'll take the Stormpike. Okay, this is a tough pick. Dread Corsair is poor. We only have 1 weapon, or we have 2, but I guess we have 3 with 2 lights. It's not a good card in general, though. Unless you're in Rogue, it could be all right. Senjin, like I said, solid 4-drop. Hammer, 3 damage plus drawing a card. We don't have any. We only have the 1 hammer for the draw so far, so I'm going to take another hammer. Ooh, another one of the good 4-drops. Blessing of Kings is great. It's basically like a 4 mana for 4/4 with charge a lot of the time, which is really good. And you could use it to get the board in your favor a lot of the time. So Blessing of Kings it is, especially against these 2 cards, which are terrible. Oh my goodness. They've offered us 3 of the best uncommon neutral minions in the game here. Scarlet Crusader, I love. Think it's a great 3-drop. I think it's even better than the Ogre Brute. And Ogre Brute is also good. The stats are obviously great. The 50% chance is a little bit annoying because Scarlet Crusader usually can 2-for-1 with that Divine Shield, or at least get them to have to use a ping on it with their hero power. So I'm going to value Scarlet Crusader over the Brute. I value Shredder over both of these. The question is my curve. After this pick, I have 5 more picks. I think I'll be alright taking the Shredder. These are all great cards, though. You can't go wrong with either of them. I don't think there's necessarily a wrong pick here. But the Shredder is just so good. Like, it just really could do a lot of damage. Okay, so we need some draw. We have a little bit, not much. Stormpike Commando's alright, but we already have one, so it's not a big deal. Newbar Weblord's fairly poor, and Blessing of Wisdom at least cycles, and sometimes you can get more value. So we'll take the Blessing of Wisdom. Okay, good. I was actually hoping for this card. I was thinking about it, because we have a fair amount of mechs. Do we? Don't we? We have the Gnome, we have the Mini-Bot, the Spider Tank, the Paladin Shredder, the Healbot. We have 5 so far, so that's alright. Tinkertown is at least a vanilla 3-drop, and sometimes you get much more value out of it, which is really, really great. So I'm going to take the Tinkertown. The other picks were also bad. Well, it looks like they really want us to have multiple Stormpike Commandos, and I'm not sure if I'll oblige. We don't have much late game at all here. All we have is the Windfury Harpy, or all we have is the Guardian of Kings really past 5. So I might take the Windfury Harpy because I need 6 drops. We need more late game to kind of close things out. And if this is left uncontested, and we can put like a Blessing of Kings on it or something, it can do some damage. I prefer it for this slot. Okay, so here we're going to go with the Dancing Swords. The Dancing Swords is a bad card in the late game, but in the early game, I think it's actually really good. It is like the best value for its mana cost in the early game. Unstable Ghoul's terrible in Paladin. Young Dragonhawk's terrible in general. So we'll go with the Dancing Swords, and it's looking like we're going to try and be really aggressive with this deck. So that's going to be our playstyle. Ooh, and we're ending with an epic. 3 choices here. Junkbot is awful. Even with 5 mechs, that's not nearly enough. There's a reason you don't even say this in mech decks in general. And Hanso Meccano is pretty good in Paladin, because you'll have a lot of things on the board and you'll be able to do it. But in general, the Hanso Meccano ability on 1/1s in particular is not good. Like it really doesn't make much of a difference. Maybe a Divine Shield can do something, but in general, I don't actually think it Hanso Meccano. Trying it out as much as I have, I don't think it's that good unless you have a lot of big things on the field. And in that case, I think you're already winning. I think it's a win more card, which was what I hypothesized it would be when it first came out. But after trying it a lot, I can finally definitely say it is. Shade Exoramus is a fantastic card. You can choose to unstealth it when you want and do what you want with it. I think it's an excellent card in Arena, so I'm going to take the Shade. Okay, so we have a good looking deck here. Really powerful cards and a fair amount of removal and a fair amount of early game. Strategy with this deck is going to be to take the board early and to win from there. Just keep up the pressure the whole game. Weird that these have this little thing on them, but that's going to be the strategy with this deck. So that's it for this video. I'm going to come back and play with the deck in part 2 of this. So click on over to part 2, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a second.